level.
Courtney. Okay. First of all, like I became obsessed with your show because I mean, like Cobra Kai is like it really fills the nostalgia, right?
Yes.
It's just like become like this thing.
It's like the biggest bowl of pasta, I feel like. It's a comfort food. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just so, it hits all the spots, I think.
It hits all the spots.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, I mean, when did you get the audition? How, like when that fell on your desk and you're like, wait, the reboot of Karate Kid, but now the villain is now the hero?
I don't even think that was the pitch at the time. I remember, I've told the story 1,000 times, so I won't bore you with it, but I was done with acting. I was like, this is not working out anymore. Like I am not going further in my career. I'm just doing the same thing. I'm like the gun for hire. I'm like, I'm the guest star here. I'm the guest star here. And not often enough to be like making enough money to be like, this is working out in my favor. And I had my son and I was like, I'm done. And my husband was like, oh, I so support that. But also we get our health insurance from you. So if you could just like hang in until we figure out another plan. And I was like, okay. And then within the next week, this Cobra Kai that was on YouTube, that was the network it was on. It wasn't Netflix yet. Yes.
Yes, I remember the big billboards like on Sunset, but it was like YouTube. And you're like, wait, is this becoming a channel now? Like,
and it wasn't even YouTube. It was YouTube Red. And they were like, yes. And so everybody's just like, RedTube, which is porn, which I didn't know until after the fact. But I feel like I'm on being like, which is porn, because I know, because I have a subscription there too. I don't. I really just, I just lost the thread. I have no idea.
Okay, so Cobra Kai, it was RedTube.
Porn. Okay,
it was porn. Right.
RedTube porn.
Yep.
And then, so I wasn't even, by the way, I was in no position to like turn anything away, but I remember being like, what's this? And then it was like, Ralph Macchio's attached. And my husband was just like, yes. He was so excited. And he's like, babe, you got it. I'm like, well, we don't really have a choice. Remember, health insurance, you told me, comes from me.
Sure.
And I remember going in and being like, whatever this is, there was like a fire alarm that went off in the middle of my audition. Everybody evacuated the building. And I was like, should I just run now? And I went back. Anyway, I got the call back for it. And I was like, great. Remember the callback? Everybody was laughing except one guy, and I was like really not laughing. And I was like, wow, that guy, I hope he's like someone's assistant, because I hope he's not a decision maker. He was. It was Hayden Schlossberg. He was one of the three creators.
Oh my God.
I've told him the story though, because they were all like, ha! And Hayden was like this. You can't see listener at home, but I'm sitting with my arms crossed far away looking grumpy. He was like not... and I was like, oh, I guess, that didn't go well because he was a main person. But then I got that. I remember getting it.
When he was like, when he was just, when you're like in the room and you can like feel the energy and they're not vibing with it, does it sometimes, like obviously in this situation, it went your way, but were you like, for sure, this is not going my way?
I have had auditions where I was like, I could feel the energy just drop in the room to such a low point. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm saying right now because I feel so, like, I remember there was a quite a famous actress who I auditioned for a project she was doing, and she was in the room, and I don't think she read with me. I think or maybe she did read with me. She did read with me. And I still very much like and think this person's amazing.
Sure.
But it was like, I don't know if she already made up her mind when I walked in, like she's not the part, or maybe it was just however I opened my mouth, she was like, no. But like from the moment in, she was just like not giving me anything. And I remember feeling like desperate, like I was just making the audition probably go crazier because I was like, it's getting worse, but you're talking even higher, Courtney, stop. It was just so bad. I left being like, and I remember that was just in your head, Courtney. I'm sure it's like, they tell you like, oh, don't get to, and the feedback was, no, your feedback was right. She did not like, she was not feeling you, Courtney. And I was like, okay.
No.
So sometimes you think it's just, you want to say it's not you, it's everybody, but sometimes it really is just you. It was me. So I had that in my background. So when I watched him, and I was like, I didn't tank it. I had a chemistry read after that with Ralph. And I knew Ralph would be there. I didn't know Billy Zabka because they were both producers, but I didn't know Billy Zabka would be there. And I saw Billy walking out as I was walking in. He's like, good luck in there. And I was like, why are you here? And I heard the girls audition before me. It was just the two of us, and I heard her. And I saw her in a movie the night before. And so when she walked out of the room, I heard them all laughing. And then I was just like, oh God, why am I listening to this audition on the other side like a dumbass? And then she walked out and I was like, I'm such an idiot. I have no clue. I'm like, I just watched you in a movie. And she's like, cool. And I was like, and then I walk in and like Hayden's like this. And I'm like, oh, it's so going well. And I remember, I think I ended the audition with like the they were like, okay, great job. And I think I did like a dismount move, like I was a gymnast.
Wait. You did a superstar from SNL?
Yes.
Superstar. And then put them under my pits and I smelled like this.
I just go blind and I did stupid shit. And I did that. And they were like, I remember Ralph being like, oh. And the producers being like, they're like, they're like, Courtney, you did great. That went really well. And I remember leaving and be like, but did it go better than the girl who was just in here?
Oh my God.
And they were like, you can't ask that question. And I was like, okay, bye. I was like, well, I either got that job or they're never going to call me again. But I got it. And that's history. And then before I knew it, I was off to Atlanta and here we are talking to you.
Oh my God. Wait, and Will Smith, isn't he like producing?
I've never met Will Smith, but he is because I guess he has the rights from when Sony did the reboot of, for whatever reason, Overbrook his company had the rights. And so yes, technically Will Smith is my boss. Though I've never met him.
Yeah. No, I worked with him for a film, but I was like wondering, King Richard. Yeah, it was really cool. Unfortunately, my role got cut. It was like during the pandemic, and I got to work with Will, and it was like based on like a New York Times reporter. And I like was going through the script, and I was like, "Damn it, this is gonna get cut, isn't this?" And I was just like, because there was already like mention of. I was like, "Yeah, it's a really long script." If I was a director, I was like, I would cut it here, and we already mentioned like this other New York Times people, and I'm like. Truncate it. So I knew, but like it was.
Did they give you the heads up beforehand, or did you go to the movie? You're like, guys.
No, they did. No. That happened before. Where that was like a whole. Oh my God, that's a whole other thing.
When you've done a thing, you thought you were in the thing, you went to the thing, and you're like, this is not.
That was a whole other thing. That was like, that was like, I didn't want to date the director, so he like cut me out. So this is before Me Too. And I was like, and then when Me Too happened, I was like, hey. And I didn't like go on Twitter or anything, but I just was like, we need to have a chat.
With him, with the director?
Yeah, so I like called him up. I hadn't spoken to him. So it was a huge blockbuster movie. And the whole—
You're not going to name names, are you? Damn it.
Nah,
Maybe
I'll tell you. So we go to the premiere. Or actually, I randomly like sit next to him at like a movie theater, like watching the Clash of the Titans. And I'm like, bring out my phone. So I'm bringing out my phone like, because I'm like, oh, who's that actor in Clash of the Titans or something? And he's like, can you put your phone away? And I was like, what? And I was like, hey, it's you. And so I'm like kind of happy to see him because he's like, oh, I've been seeing your face on screen all day. And so I'm like, oh, cool. So I'm like, you don't need ADR? And he's like, no, we're good. So I'm like, seriously? There's no ADR? No, we don't need any ADR. So go to the premiere. I'm doing all this press for this character. Like literally like Maxim and all the like people are calling me and, doing all this press.
No.
So I'm like on the red carpet answering questions about the character and like, my manager like can't get tickets to the premiere. They're like, this is so weird. Like, it's so weird that we can't get a ticket. Like, it's been like so hard to get you in the premiere. And I'm like, that's so weird. So finally, I'm there with my like publicist friend and we're watching the movie. And I'm like, I'm not there. What? Just cut around me.
Oh my gosh.
And so years later, when like I feel like the whole thing, like the Me Too thing, like happened, then I was like, we need to have a chat. And so ultimately I was like, hey, look, I'm not gonna like I don't want to ruin your life or your career, but like what you did is really fucked up.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, I'm Harvey Weinstein. And I'm like,
did he admit to it on some level or was he?
Oh no, he was mortified.
Okay.
He was like, literally putting himself in the category of like Harvey. I was like, that's not what happened. I was like, you don't need to put yourself as the like ultra villain. Like that's, it was a dickhead move. Just don't ever do that shit again. Otherwise, like I will say something. Like, I'm saying something now. I was just like, hey, just be better. Like, just be better. Just be a better human. Like it's really fucked up. Don't do it.
Learn your lesson.
Learn the lesson.
Also know that's always right here. If I ever need to use it, it's there. I just think when I think about women in those positions, because I'm sure you've been in those positions like countless times.
All the time. It was a minefield.
And it was so par for the course. And like I feel like I'm straddling this line right now where there's the very much the empowered women, like we're, the meat, like we're not taking the shit, everybody, and then I was a bartender where my uniform fit in the palm of my hand, as my friend Anastasia would say, like, and high boots. And my job was to make money off of horny drunk men. Yeah. Being like, hey, you want another Becca Tenick? And then and play the game. And so like I had my foot in both arenas. But as a woman, when you're in those positions, like my husband would be like, then you should have just left. It's like the rape when you're like, why did you, they should have just said no. Or like you just, all the nonsense. I'm like, you don't know what it's like to be a woman and navigating before we even had language for it. And even now women who have language for it and like backup, when you're in those positions, you're just like, it's like the flight freeze, like all those responses go on. You're like, what is the safest way for me to get out of here? I don't want to make him angry. So I'm going to keep saying
I don't want to
no
die
in this way. I'm going to keep saying no in this way. And it's not always a hard, fast no because that doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
What are my options? And sometimes you're not thinking even correctly because you're like, I don't know, you're overfried. But I think that story makes me so upset. I know nothing truly traumatic happened, but like, that fucking sucks.
No, it totally sucked. It was really shitty. But like, I think my higher self was like, yeah, you should just say no, which is actually what I did. But I didn't want to alienate him. And I think.
Right, because he's a man of power. And he had, there's an allure and a power there. And so like, it's in your best interest to befriend a person like that.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's interesting the later in life that I've really like, as I've been learning martial arts. So I feel like Cobra Kai, we can totally get into talking about
never got to learn that, but good for you.
But because it's like, I've learned to channel my shadow, like really like bring her out. I think the martial arts has really kind of helped that of like knowing how to handle energy or dangerous energy because like the world is not a safe place, and so it's like how like it's kind of, if you're gonna live in the jungle, like how like you need to properly arm yourself. So I'm like, okay, if this is the case, then how do I like, use my shadow correctly? Like what are the parts that I can control? Because it's like I can't control his reaction or his patterns or how he shows up in the world, but I can control myself. Like I can control my actions and I can like, really aggressively say no if I need. Like I think about those times too of like fight or flight. And sometimes, I'm like, maybe I should choose fight.
Today I choose fight. You're all getting your ass kicked.
Yeah. How did you navigate that? I mean, because, like you're, by the way, I can't even believe that you're playing a mom in this. Like you could be playing like one of, but I mean, like it kind of blows my mind because I'm like, you literally look like you could be one of the kids doing martial arts.
I just got fresh Botox. I think it's helping. I know. I was like, that was the other thing. I was like, there's no way I'm going to get this. How old is Ralph Macchio? I know he looks really young, but how old is Ralph Macchio? I was watching him when I was a kid. So I know. And then he's 62, I believe, right now.
He looks so good.
He's incredible. His whole family, by the way, I've said this before and I'll say it again. They're like all vampires. This is fact. They're all vampires. I want that. They're all so beautiful and kind, and their skin is like not
glowing.
Normal. I just touch. Well, not Ralph's. I don't think he likes that, but his daughter's skin I like to touch a lot too. They're beautiful. He's blessed with this like beautiful baby face. But the wisdom of an old timer, I don't know. He's 62. He's not an old timer. But anyway, that was like, there's no way they're going to hire me. And they're like, you. And they were also like, hey, don't wear heels. Ralph and I are probably the same height, probably like 5'10". But I have learned long ago in Hollywood to never wear heels. I used to show up looking like too tall for anybody's good. Like me in heels is a silly looking thing. And so they were like, wear flats. I remember like even on my audition, I was kind of just like always
just hunched over.
Just kind of leaning ever so. I'm like, I'm not too young or too tall. I'm not. I'm perfect for you, Ralph Macchio. I'm a tiny petite older woman. It worked.
That's amazing. Okay, so when you're working on set, like what was the first season like? So it went from YouTube
we were doing porn on YouTube.
I was right.
And then Ralph was like, enough of this. I've come far to keep doing porn. It was such it happened like right out the gate too. I feel like they hired me and then they're like, oh, you have to be in Atlanta tomorrow. And I was like, what? And I was like, to my husband, I'm like, we have to be in Atlanta tomorrow. And he was like, what? Anyway, it went like that for a while. Then we got a place in Atlanta. And it was, I don't even remember the first season. I remember I was really nervous.
It's funny. Wait, hold on. They don't shoot in LA?
Oh yeah, surprise twist. It's all in Atlanta. Yeah. You'll notice that with the fall foliage in the background when it's summertime in the valley and it's actually
Oh my
October
God,
in
you
Atlanta.
could have fooled me.
They do some pickups in LA. They'll do like a couple days each
All right,
season
so they
in
do
LA.
like exteriors and, you know, it's like, oh, the beach, you know, it's
Yes.
summer, like cruel summer.
It's all lies.
It's all lies.
But I love Atlanta. Have you worked there?
Yeah, I've worked there a bunch. My best friends live there. So yeah.
Yes.
So how did you expect this to be such a smash hit that everyone was talking about?
No. It was, first of all, it's on YouTube. Nobody could find it. No one could figure out how to get on it. So it was like this exciting thing that there was this reboot happening and it was with the original, but like no one really knew how to find it or get it. Even my husband, who's very tech savvy, was like, I don't fucking know how to sign into this thing. Am I allowed to curse? I'm sorry. I feel like I'm a
all
truck
the time.
driver
We
here.
talked
Okay.
about porn. I talked about my
No,
Me Too.
porn's
Like,
fine.
I mean, like with Harvey Weinstein, like
Sure.
I'm just like everything's on the table. I mean, it's literally everything's on.
Just want to keep it classy for you.
Yeah. No, it's that left the station a
That should
while
just-
ago.
Yeah, and then I think after season 2, we were like, we have been canceled by YouTube Red. They no longer going to be in the scripted season 2 or 3. All I know is it coincided with the pandemic. And so like I was feeling myself because this was like the first time I was making like a couple seasons of like serious regular money. And I was like, we're like, there was like a sense of freedom in that again, instead of like fight. Like I was like, even if this ends, like I'll be good for at least another, you know what I'm saying? Like not that like desperate.
I know that kind of money well.
Yes.
And then you're just like, like how
so
much
it's like
runway do I have
Yes.
until like, you know, I'm living on my sister's couch.
Yes, with my son and my dog and my husband. It's very awkward. And we had just moved back from LA. We moved to New York. And I remember finding a place. We were renting a house.
Is he an actor too?
No, my husband's a producer. But I remember finding a house that was out of our budget. But I was like, because we were like stuck in this old kind of thought about what our project. And I was like, you know what? I've actually up-leveled a little bit. I'm on a show called Cobra Kai that no one can find on YouTube. I think I'm gonna. And I remember being like, we're gonna spend this much on rent. And my husband was just like, no, okay. And then we did it, and I got this beautiful home for us. And then the next day they were like, we are canceling Cobra Kai, and I was like, this is funny universe. This is a good one. Okay.
No.
And I was like, well, I knew that we had it. I was like, we're still good. We're still good. I'll have to just find another job. And then I remember Ralph calling me, and he's like, he'll call me with information and be like, this is, you know, fake husband to fake wife privileges. He's like, I hear
Your set husband.
Yes, my set husband. He's like, I hear that they're looking to go somewhere else. That maybe. Because when they pitched the show originally, Netflix really wanted it. I think there was at HBO. There was like different things. And I think YouTube kind of gave them the freedom that the creators were looking for.
Oh, right. They can they can have creative control.
And they didn't have, I don't think they had to like show proof of concept. They were kind of just like, this is what we want to do. They were going to let them all direct everything. They were like, you know, it was a great playground for them. So they took that deal and it was great for us. And YouTube liked us very much. It didn't, but they were moving forward in that space. So then I think they went back to all these other places, and Netflix, you know, bought us. And we were like, well, this could, because there's so much content on Netflix. So it could either go brilliantly or just disappear with the rest of them. But it happened to be like a perfect storm. It was the pandemic. And they launched season 3. I think we already shot season 3, but that was the one that was like never going to be seen because YouTube canceled us. And anyway, and then it just turned into this other thing.
So then Netflix, right, bought it.
Yeah, Netflix bought it, and then it just launched into what it is. And which is, I'm so grateful because I love everyone involved from soup to nuts on Cobra Kai is wonderful, great people. Great people. And it was funny to have like this kind of like world where like, I'm on a TV show. You never heard. Well, if you want to being like, people being like, are you on a TV show? I'm like, that's me. You recognize me. It was I was like trying to convince people versus being like, yes, I see you. I'm like, it's me.
Do you get recognized a lot for Cobra Kai?
I do. And it's funny where I do, because some places know. And then there's places where I know that like, you're our demographic.
Wait, where? Who is your demographic?
Long Island is where I moved from. I'm from Long Island, but there are definitely in Long Island. I was just like, I feel my best self. Also, the Sky Zone in Trumbull, Connecticut is apparently a hotbed for Cobra Kai fans. The Sky Zone is like a jump park for kids, like where they have like trampolines and rock climbing. People have birthday parties there. And mostly when we moved to Connecticut, nobody really says anything to me about it. No one like recognizes me.
I feel like the Islanders. If you go to like Islander hockey game, I feel like they would
Ralph
lose
is
their
one of
minds.
theirs. Ralph is a huge Islanders fan. So
John
that's,
John Ledecky is a dear friend, and he like I just feel like it would just be like, oh my god,
Yes.
that like that
those people, and I love those people.
Yeah,
they have no boundaries. And, but I appreciate that as somebody who like would scream at other famous people. They're like, you're Amanda LaRusso, and I'm like, it is. Or like kids would drive by up on their bike and you're like, are you the mom from Cobra Kai? And like an asshole, I'm shouting at back them, yes, it's me! But yes, most in Connecticut people don't. But yes, Long Island is definitely a hotbed for it.
And what about Atlanta? Is Atlanta?
You know what? It's funny. I feel like so much films in Atlanta, like so many projects filmed down there. I don't know. They weren't as forthcoming with it, I don't think.
Oh.
And sometimes sometimes we roll deep. Sometimes there's a bunch of us in a group together, and I'm like, do you recognize us now? Now with all of us?
It's sort of like Twilight. The Twilight gang gets together. You're like, no. What has been like sort of the evolution of going from feeling, like a guest star and feeling like you wanted to quit. And, you were pretty like, do you think that that's always kind of how it happens? Because I feel like the amount of times that I'm like, that's it, I'm quitting. And then like something magical
pulls you back
in. Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's kind of what they always tell you. They're like, it's not until you really, it's like a boyfriend, right? Until you're really, you can say I'm over him, your ex.
No, you have to be really done.
Yeah, but they'll never, but as soon as you're really done, then he's like, babe, and you're like, but I'm really done this time. The timing, I feel like that was the same because I feel like I tried for many years, be like, I'm done with acting.
Do you notice me yet? Do you notice me yet?
No. And this time I definitely was. And it just pulls you right back in. And this time, by the way, I'm going through another phase where I'm like, and we're done now. And we're done. My husband's like, still health insurance, babe. We just bought a house in Connecticut. Can you hang in there a little longer? I'm like, ugh.
Do you have one more season or how?
No, we're done. We're done.
No.
Yeah, the last 5 episodes that we shot for season 6 come out in February, but yeah, we're done. I know, but I'm sure they have so many spinoffs planned.
Oh my God, it comes out in February.
Yeah.
When?
The third part of our final season of Cobra Kai comes out February 13th on Netflix.
And this is the final.
We're done after this.
Whew.
So, watch it or die.
And so it's interesting because I feel like Ralph Macchio, like he would be he generally feels like the voice of reason, but it feels like you're that for the show. For him,
yes.
The grounding force. So
because they give him some crazy shit to do these last couple seasons. It's like, you're really making him unhinged, which I love it. It's my favorite version of Ralph is when he's unhinged. It's my favorite. He's such that's the opposite of who he is. So it's very fun to watch that.
Yeah, he seems so like solid, but it's kind of fun to see him frazzled.
Yes, I agree. I like sometimes
frazzled Ralphie.
When he like off season, he'll like grow his beard, and I'm like, oh, I love this. You're like scruffy and disheveled. It's like, I'm still put together, Courtney, please.
So even after the success of having such a huge iconic show, you'd want to quit. You worked with George Clooney.
I know George Clooney.
Oh my God!
I mean, not a lot. I don't call him or anything, but I do know him. I think he'd recognize me in a crowd.
But I mean, like the boys in the boat. Mm-hmm. Like I'm blown away. Like that's amazing. That's an amazing film. And
yeah, that was. I mean, we shot in London for 3 months. I was like away from my family and like in London.
And you want to quit that?
I know. I love that part. I love the travel, and often, ever since my kids got a little older, my husband will be so lovely to stay with them and let me travel and work. And it's very good for the way my brain works. I need that space sometimes, and I love all that. I don't know. Do you love acting anymore?
Yeah.
You do love acting.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's like I love it. But I'm a writer, I'm a producer, I'm an actor, but like, like we have this show. I'll probably bleep this out because it's not like on deadline yet. So I'm developing a show and it's like a big.
I had a dream about 2 weeks ago, which is weird because why is in my subconscious is what I want to know. What was your dream about?
No. I'm developing a show. What
was your dream about?
Were you in my dream?
So I'm trying to picture my dream. Like, were you in my dream?
That would be amazing.
Go on, please. That's so huge.
So yeah, but it's been like 5 years, and I just love telling stories, and I love like sort of my life was such a hot mess. Sort of like assessing like I think I want to quit and all this trauma that I went through and men and my relationship with men. And so it was originally titled America Goes to Therapy. And so America's a hot mess and she needs to get her shit together. And I was like, just writing about my own life. And I was like, wow. I was like, America. It kind of feels like, the personification of America. Like, oh my God, this totally relates. And we'll name her America. And so it's kind of like America's a hot mess. And so, but what was interesting about that is I was in such a I was in, like the house that I was renting. I lost everything in the Woolsey fires. Like it was like, it was like my uncle was murdered. It was like terrible things that
my God.
It was crazy. I think I signed up for the learning and growing package of Earth, to like really like for the learning lessons of like so many blessings in my life. But then like, I think in this lifetime, I just really wanted to grow a lot. So when I was writing this, I was like, how do I get to here? Like my life is here right now. How do I You
had a clear vision of what there was?
Yeah. So I think it was kind of like Fleabag where I was just writing about my life and then I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting because I love Fleabag, but it was
Fleabag.
different, but it was my own version of that. And sort of like how do I, how do I become better? How is this like the Schitt's Creek? How is this, and so that's kind of like what I was writing. And that's what I love about stories is that you can kind of, you can work out your problems through storytelling. Do you find that, when you're like working on a character that it somehow relates to your life or an issue or I always find it's like so kismet when you're working through something and then like you get that role as you're trying to, work through a problem?
I've never had a role I've had to work on.
No.
I think maybe that's why I want to leave acting just because like I've never had those roles. I've never done anything out of like a comfort zone or another version of Courtney or anything that's been like required like work. And then I realized I don't even really like to work on acting stuff. This is like deep, dark secret stuff. This is like embarrassing stuff. I don't know who I'm talking to. You! I'm talking to you! No, I'm kidding. This is my deep, dark secrets. But
we love it. I mean, this is what we, talk about.
This was like the shame I was carrying around with me as an actor for so long because
you're like, I just don't like it.
I don't think I love the craft of acting. I'll say this. Since I was a kid, I watched my daughter, and watching my daughter is very cathartic because I'm like, oh, that was me. I am a performer. I am a creative.
Totally.
I am a writer. I am the things. I know that.
You're a writer.
Yes. I know all these things about me, but I feel like I started chasing this acting dream for a very specific reason and a very specific outcome. But since a young age, I wasn't a child actor. My parents wouldn't ever let that happen. They were like, no, go to school.
Yeah,
but as soon as I was allowed to, they were very supportive. But I came to Hollywood in the height of like the early 2000s where like Us Weekly and, it was Paris Hilton and Britney Spears at the clubs and like the version of it, my goal was just to get on like the Maxim top 100 list. Like that was my goal. I wanted like give me some lines on a TV show.
I was
like,
on Maxim, the same thing. That was like
you.
that was
like, living my dream.
Did you do it?
No, I never got on Maxim.
Damn it, you can do now. Maxim, where are you? We need to get her on Maxim. She looks like she's 20.
Yes,
let's go.
She's the cable knit sweater's selling it. I think they're so Maxim. I realized I just wanted to be like seen and heard, but I didn't have a very clear way that I wanted to. So it was any job. And I feel like I was keeping myself very small because my secret shame was I'm like, I can't listen. I think I'm a talented actress.
Yeah.
I watch other actors. I think about like the Jeremy Strongs of the world or the Jessica Chastains or the people who talk about the craft and they write in their diaries about I create a whole diary for my character and we need those actors. I love those actors. I want to watch those actors all day. I knew I wasn't that actor. I could do that work, but I don't enjoy that work.
But
that
you're
work
a comic actor.
But I can do the other things though. I know I can. I'm just not that interested in, and it's terrible, but I was so embarrassed and I kept like going to more acting classes and studying more. And I'm like, I took a play off Broadway and I was like, and I was like, none of this is lighting me up.
Wow.
Writing lights me up, creating.
So then we should be doing that.
Well,
maybe that's a transition. Yeah, that's the transition.
Right. That's what we're doing. I still love to act. I just not like, when I think about, when you ask like, did you ever have a role where you were this cathartic? I'm like, no, because I kept myself in this box of like, because I knew I wasn't reaching too far because I didn't really want to dive in. I didn't want to do 3 months of like prep work to play like a paraplegic, sea captain. Oh, but if you guys have a paraplegic sea captain out there role, it's my dream. You know what I'm saying.
Sea captain, that's just so random. I love it. You're totally a writer. So wait, what are you working on? Like what are you passionate about right now?
I do write comedy.
That so makes sense. That tracks.
In a surprise twist.
Because I was like, you could be a stand-up kind of.
Oh God,
like,
that sounds terrifying to me.
Really?
I have stand-up friends and I'm just like, how do you do this?
I know. I just, Yeah. The only time I had to give a speech at my mom's funeral and I murdered at my mom's funeral. So,
oh my God.
But I feel like that's where I shine in the speeches or,
in a safe space. But if I'm here to entertain you.
That was not a safe space. I was like, my mom's coffin is right there. And I was like, oh,
sure, that was a weird. No,
let me. I'm just triggered the whole time. I'm just just keep it together.
Did you make it through it without crying?
Yeah.
My mom is sick, and this is sad, but I often think about who's going to do her eulogy, and I'm like, well, I'm the writer.
Yeah, you're the writer.
I'm like, I'm sure I could write something really brilliant. I'm like, but who gets through that without losing their shit? Or is it kind of like you're so focused on I don't know, but I also don't know the relationship with your mother, but it's amazing to me that you.
No, I cry about everything. So that I literally, as soon as I felt like it was when I think of Braveheart or Gladiator, it's please give me the strength to but
you called upon the spirits.
I called upon my mom. I was like, Mom, look, I think my mom was very happy to be up in heaven. It's a whole other thing that I talk to dead people and know when they die, and so I don't quite have the relationship where it's so final.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it's it feels like I'm Whoopi Goldberg and, I have this my mom being like, bah, 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 bah. I'm like, yeah, okay, shut up. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm going to go see my sister for Christmas. Okay, just shut up. She's like,
do you see other people's spirits or just your own?
Wait, what?
Do you hear other people's spirits or just your own? Or you not really talking about I'm trying to see if are you telling me that you can hear the other side?
Yes. So I knew
just your side, or can you hear other other energies?
So I only open the door for people for friends, because sometimes if I don't there was somebody who died on my street and it felt like there was a knock of please talk to me, and I'm like, I don't know you, I don't know, I can't. So I have boundaries. Do you believe in any of this? Is this
yeah. And this is where I'm like, you sound crazy, I'm leaving. No, God. Do you find the people in your life kind of support you in this, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's kind of, I'm just leaning in. So yeah, I mean, it's it's a strange thing. And I feel like there's just so much about the world that we just can't understand or comprehend. And, yeah, you should listen to also the telepathy tapes. Have you heard about this?
No, tell me.
Oh my God, it's a podcast. Holy shit. About telepathy. And it's these kids who are super on the spectrum that can read people's minds, to a T, to an extreme point of you're thinking of the color blue or whatever. It's you're thinking of a giraffe, or just you're going to think of Titanic, and they'll just be like Titanic, so it's just it's, you're some things are private.
That's enough. That's enough. You're thinking of Harvey Weinstein. Stop it. I'm always thinking of Harvey Weinstein. It's a weird callback, but I did it. We just put it back there on the table. There you go. Oh, she says weird things.
Do you have a Harvey Weinstein story now?
I don't have a Harvey Weinstein. I feel very lucky.
How did you navigate through, you were saying you had, being a bartender and navigating through that world. How did you do that through the 2000s? It was in a weird era.
Low jeans, very low jeans.
Very low jeans. Everything was very sexualized. We're in our 20s and and so everything is, and that's just kind of just the mode of the world. And
I know I said this to my girlfriends. I have such a adverse reaction to Los Angeles, which sounds very in poor taste right now considering what's going with the fires. I never embraced Los Angeles as my home. It never felt good to me. Despite like it being beautiful and
I lived there for 15 years and I loved it until the pandemic, and it just got really scary. And it just it just started feeling like Detroit. Like I was, shout out to Detroit. Like, I mean, I know you guys were like building it back up, but like, it was kind of like it was a rough place, and it kind of felt like this magical, kind of like similar to Detroit, where it was this magical place and everyone's now on meth. Like what happened? You know, and so that's kind of, what it felt like, where it was just constant robberies. You feel constantly unsafe. Like I was fighting off robbers, like literally like every other day.
That's terrible.
And I was like, this is not a way to live.
No.
So I moved to New York.
I always said I felt much safer walking in a back alley of New York than I ever did in LA.
Honestly, 1,000%. New York crushes.
I'm like, I understand you're crazy. I don't understand the LA crazy. I don't understand what you're on. I don't know.
So you weren't vibing with.
But I lived there for 15 years. I mean, I met my husband there. There was a need to be there. I understand.
Sure.
And it was my dream. I'm a East Coast kid, and from January through April, I was like, I cannot wait till I can grow up and move to Los Angeles and be where the sun is all the time. Because the winters, it was depressing. I couldn't. So, I love so much about LA, but I think, and I equate it to that time, the early 2000s, and what I was striving for and what I thought I had to be. And then it was like, I worked in the hottest nightclubs, and all my friends worked at the hottest nightclubs. And so we would be going to all these, just like my values. And by the way, I was in my 20s. So like, I get it. Like it was par for the course. I think the part that I still hold shame over, I was just talking to my husband about this yesterday. I was like, that I dragged it into my 30s. Because I'm okay being a fuck up in my 20s. And
but everyone is kind of like that in their 30s in LA.
Because I felt like everybody was like better. And I was just like, I'm just still dating this like narcissistic guy and doing cocaine with him in the bathroom because that's how we connect. Like what?
That's literally LA. Like I feel like that was,
Okay, good.
No, I mean, there's a joke that, like North Carolina men are, in their 30s, have 2 kids in like 2-car garage and a mortgage, and men in LA can't even cook a chicken in their 30s.
Yes.
So So it's a bit of like a Arrested Development, Peter Pan syndrome in LA. So it's sort of like.
And it was such extremes either. I felt like we were like desperate actors trying to do like anything to like, meet this person, talk to this person, or just like do whatever, or just like this extreme wealth or people with power. Do you know? And it was a funny dynamic. And I feel like I was growing up there.
Yeah.
In my 20s, but I was still so, what do they say about like your brain's not done growing until you're what? Like
25.
25?
25 for women. Like, I think 27 for men.
Yeah, that tracks. I was still growing and still like, and so like, and this was my first time on my own really. And so like everything I was learning, I thought this was like facts instead of realizing this is just like a chapter in my life. And I just feel like I don't know where I went with this. I'm just like, navigating it now. I'm okay with like, yes, I made some mistakes and had some weird things happen with different men, but like, that's fine. I'll forgive myself in my 20s. The 30s, I was like, you should have known better. You should have been able to pay your rent better, Courtney. You should have been able to. You didn't have to do cocaine, Courtney. Don't do drugs.
No,
I don't do them anymore. But but I
mean, you know what? It's like it's so, I hold myself to such a high standard. So it's like, I feel like when we make mistakes and we like hold on to that embarrassment and shame of like where we should be and like, but it's like, it's just, it's kind of the journey of and this is kind of something that I've learned is you don't know what you don't know, like until you know it, like until it's like literally in your body.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like when people are kind of like they've been shitty in my life because they don't know better. I think everyone wants to choose a different, they want to be better, but that's like the best they can do.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like that was the best you could do.
Yeah. It's not cute. I know. My husband's like, it's part of your journey. You wouldn't be the person you are now if you didn't have that. I'm like, I know, but do they have to stretch it to 34? I felt.
Wait, what was happening in your 30s?
Not even. I just think that like there was.
Working in a club?
No, I wasn't. I think I quit that. I think I quit clubs. I also did that. Then I was like, I'm not working in clubs anymore. I'm just going to be an actress with no acting jobs lined up. And I was like, this was like the height of, you have to understand. This is the height of The Secret.
Yes, I love The Secret. Are you kidding? It's amazing.
Are you familiar with TBM, TV Magnetic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that shifted the game and gave me more like a bigger full picture of like understanding.
Wait, who does that? To Be Magnetic?
Lacey Phillips. It's like
I love her. Yes. The magic dart.
Yes,
the magic dart.
She gave, and I'm so grateful that she existed and like kind of like explained more of like because at the time in the early 2000s when The Secret was the hottest thing, the thought was like just believe that the universe will give it to you and it will. And so I'm this dumbass like I'm gonna quit my bartending job. No, I can't. I was like hiding in my bathtub from my landlord. Like you can't. I'm like laying because he's knocking at my door and I'm laying so he can't see in any of the windows in my bathroom. So because I can't pay my rent because the universe is gonna come and get me.
Did it? It must have.
You know what? Here's the thing. If I would have understood the way I understand energy now, which is a completely different game, is that it was taking care of me. It just wasn't showing up the way I thought it was supposed to be. It was pointing me in this direction, but I was just like, no. I'm supposed to be a famous actress. I'm supposed to get like $20 million just for doing nothing right now. And I was expecting to show up this way. Meanwhile, it's guiding me this whole way, being like, no, Courtney, like look at showing up here. Why don't we look at what's showing up here? And like, no, I don't want to look at that. I want to look at those pair of shoes that I can't afford. I didn't talk like that, although I might have. I don't know. I just feel like that was kind of the journey I was on, just kind of quitting and hoping things would work out and just struggling and making bad decisions and dating bad guys. And
yeah. Been there, done that, sister. So when you're hiding in your bathtub.
So there I am, hiding in my bathtub from because the universe is taking care of me.
Hold on. How did it all work out? Like, did you move out? Did you eventually pay your rent? Like, I need to know.
Oh, God. What did I do? Then around that time, I was hiding from my landlord. I think I got away without paying for him for a very long time. And eventually, I think I got it together and paid him. I honestly don't remember. He did get his money. He did get his money, that man, eventually. I had a friend who was like trying to leave her place. And I was like, I'll only move if I can find if I can live in a house. I don't want to live in an apartment anymore. And we found like this amazing bungalow right down the street from Earth Cafe in this little pocket. It was so adorable.
In Hollywood or the one
West Hollywood? No, the one in West Hollywood near the Design Center.
Oh, it's great.
It was such a cute pocket. It was a house we didn't have jobs at the time. They shouldn't have rented to us. But that was me being like, see, the universe provides. Because the universe would show up and do crazy shit like that. And I'm like, so then I live with her. And then
How did you pay rent? So how did it all like work out?
I think I picked up, God, just such good questions. I think I was picking up random shifts, doing weird nightclub work and the occasional acting job maybe. I think it was tight too. And then I left. I think I couldn't really hang anymore. And I moved back to Long Island with my mom for like, just for the summer. I kept calling it, but it was really so I didn't have to pay rent, I think, for a summer.
Yeah.
And then I ended up staying and I left LA and I went back to New York for a few years. And me and my husband got together, even though we met in LA and we got back together and we were in New York. And then we moved back to LA again and then back to New York. And no one asked that question, but just in case you wanted to know my
Did you guys meet on set?
We met in an acting class when my husband was an actor like 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, very romantic stuff. Aww. But we were not into each other. He was like this tiny, he's 2 years younger than me, but at the time he might as well been like 20 years younger than me. He's like, let's go to the clubs and make out. And I was like, the universe is going to take care of me. So I'm not going to go to the club tonight. The universe is going to show me the way. Oh, yes. But yes. And then eventually I got eventually I bought a home. And that's the boat of my story.
But so when you you listened to Lacey Phillips, like what was the takeaway for you? Because obviously, like you manifested, like bringing in one of the biggest shows, like that's like has a huge. I mean, that became like the thing that like even celebrities were like, we love this show.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun
because it just hits the nostalgia of like the beloved Karate Kid. And wait, they're also doing a movie? Are you in that?
No, they're doing another Karate Kid movie. So it's just Ralph and Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan played the Mr. Miyagi in the reboot with Jaden Smith.
And they're not going to bring
anybody else back. No, I know.
How? Because now they have the whole universe.
I know, but it's not. I think it's
so now it's a separate story. This is a separate universe.
It's not. It's the same universe. We're just not part of that universe. We're just.
Does he mention you in the?
I don't think so. I don't think there's enough.
Where's the wife? Where's
honestly,
the family?
You have really good questions, and I'm going to call Ralph after this. It's more. I think it's more about this new kid's journey, like the new Karate Kid and the two.
Right.
I think I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but watch me find out the entire cast of Cobra Kai is in this movie except for me. I'm like, oh, this was awkward. And I know they have plans. They want to do lots with the universe. So, that's.
Would you come back?
Always. I mean, those people are fantastic. I would do anything for them. I think I started to realize I just understood energy more, and I understood my own energy more, which is really something. I mean, I always equate this to like when my son was born, but it gave me, it like cracked me open in a way that I had never been able, I don't know. It cracked me open. I was never one to be able to like connect to things on scripts and like cry. And then before I knew it, I can connect to anything. You give me a piece of, terrible dialogue and I'll be like, I love God. I don't know. I'm not good on the fly.
I'm a sea captain.
I think just that, it just opened up, and I just became more curious about why things were showing up in my life the way they were. I wanted certain things, but they weren't showing up the way I wanted them and what it was. And I think the TBM is like the Lacey Phillips word. It just gave a better perspective on how energetics work.
How does energetics work? Like for you?
For
specifically?
Me, I can't, I know me, I'm not, are you familiar with human design at all? I'm like, I can make this real witchy, but I won't. Okay, I'm going to back it up.
Hold on, wait. Human design, is that like the generator? If you're okay,
do you know what you are?
I don't know.
I'll do you after. I'll do your chart after. And yours. I'll do your chart too. Yeah, I knew you were dying for that. I know that I think more of anything, I just look at what's showing up in my life right now to direct me to, I believe that everything is for us, not against us. I don't think the bad things that are happening, I do believe like they're showing us something. It's all divine guidance. And I think that's more of how I use energy now. I know that I can't specifically manifest something. Some people are in human design. Sometimes people, you can be like, I want a yellow house on a street on Bell Street. And
I've been able to do that. Like it's crazy.
You might be a specific. I can't. I just have to be,
But also you do have to kind of like let it go. So like the big ass, like I haven't,
you can let it go and be specific. I have to let it go and just give a feeling. I have to be like, I'm like, I just want a house that feels like this. All I wanted was my own home since I was a kid, to buy my own house. And my husband and I have been together for a very long time. And I wanted to buy a house. I kept saying, we need a starter house. We have the LA starter house, which costs like $2 million for a starter house there. And it's shit. And it's in like Rancho Cucamonga and it's a rape shack and it's not cute. And so then we moved to New York and we just wanted these things. These things. And I was like, I'm not going to focus on where. I'm not going to focus on any of these details. I just know I want to feel like this. And before I know it, I was like, I just bought my dream house in Connecticut, guys. We're in Connecticut now. That's why I'm wearing cable knit. This is the official sweater of Connecticut.
I love the cable knit sweater. I have so many of them.
It's
classic. It's classic Ralph Lauren.
Ralph Lauren, thank you. Oh, you said those are my words. I moved to Connecticut and I'm like,
that's
now
your
I'm
love
Ralph
language. That's your love language.
It's my love language. It's more about, I love seeing what shows up for other people and be like, hey, this is what it's directing you to. Like this is what I would rather talk about this all day long than acting, which is probably, I'm like, yeah, I know. I know this is, I rather get witchy with people all day long.
Yeah, same. I mean, this is like we kind of go all over the map.
So
but
she wants to talk about it. No, I'm not saying with you. No, I'm just saying in life in general, we were like, people like talk about their acting and they want to talk back the craft. And I love to listen to actors. I love to talk to anybody who's talking about something they're passionate about.
Yeah.
Like it just
No, but I talk about all that kind of stuff because I think it's all storytelling is just a form of, making sense of the world. And so we need stories to make sense of our world and understand human consciousness and how to move it forward. Like I think that's what it is, but it is energy. So like everything. And what I've noticed about all the top actors in the world, they manifest like motherfuckers. Like they like know how they're witchy as fuck. Like we're talking like the Oscar, like they do that all day long.
Yeah. Because they know, because they have a clear, I don't know. I feel like the more you can get clear on like who you are and what you want, and you're not doing it for any other reason. That's why the acting thing was so funny for me, because I was like, I've been chasing this dream for like the wrong reason. And the reason I was chasing it was kind of embarrassing. Like I just wanted to be
nice shoes.
Like I wanted people to see me. I wanted I mean, these are not conscious thoughts, and this is like embarrassing to admit, but I was
Yeah,
like,
but,
I
like,
wanted
that's
the people in high school who like dismissed me to know that like I made it. Like I'm, like all the
Oh, I have that too.
I mean, I'm sure that
Everyone
LA
is an actor. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I think, look. I'm such an artist in so many ways, but I also think actors are, like sensitive souls who probably had a lot of trauma in childhood where you need to alchemize it and make sense, where it's like this creative outlet. And I do think that some of that you have to, because it's like you have to be fully seen, as an artist. So I think like, I think there is some of that. There has to be if you, want to be successful. Like, do you know what I mean? So I don't think that that's like wrong,
No, not wrong.
But it is like, then if it's like your sole purpose, like to be famous, then it's like, oh, then, that's a Kardashian, where it's like
Sure.
reality show.
Right. And there's so much shame because that also at the time in the early 2000s, that was the dawn of like the reality TV.
Yeah.
And then it's shameful to want to be famous. It's shameful to want to be seen. If you're a real actor, you do it because of the craft. You don't do it because you also enjoy this part. So I'm hiding this part of me that's like, well, but I do want to be seen and I also want to be pretty. I also want to be pretty. Can you give me a pretty dress and do it?
Yeah, but the people who are doing the red carpets, like if they didn't want to do it, they wouldn't do it. Like if they were like true, like I'm an artist and I'm above it all. Like if you're Daniel Day-Lewis and you're a cobbler in the middle of like, I don't know, Swiss Alps.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's
right.
like that to me is like a full on like this whole thing is not my jams, where I'm like, oh yeah, that's obvious. But like, yes. I feel like everybody else parades around in the dresses and the things.
It's part of the gig. It's part of the
gig. So if you really hate it, that's a problem,
Right.
Like I'm like when they, they go to the fashion shows and do you know what I'm saying? Like
they
all do.
They hang with Swan,
Anna Winter, So it's like I'm like.
Show me. Okay. Well, I guess it's one of those things that both things can be true. And I think in my mind.
Both things can be true.
In my mind, it was just like, well, I know that I have this part of me that craves this. So I guess I can't be this. Instead of being like, no, both things can be true, Courtney.
Yeah.
You can also like not have to go to the Swiss Alps and be a cobbler with Daniel Day-Lewis. You're like, Daniel, it's me. Let me in, the girl from Cobra Kai. I'd like to learn to make shoes with you. But I can also, that's what I'm kind of rectifying now. I'm like, I do enjoy acting. Like I still get auditions and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
This is good. Oh, it's not going any further. Thank you so much. But did you see it? That was good. And I still enjoy it and I'm good at it. And I feel like I said, I watch my daughter and she's such a performer. Like she's just the way she just moves through the world and how she experiences and how she expresses herself. I'm like, that was me. And I know that's part of me. So I don't want to say like, I'm done. I'm not done acting. Yeah. I just want to redefine it for myself and know that like, why I'm chasing it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like the why behind it.
And what is the why now? Like how have you changed?
Money? I bought a house in Connecticut. Did I mention that?
Yeah.
No,
health insurance.
I think I was just, like I said, I've never had a role where I really had to like connect or do anything. That's why I write. I want to create the thing and being of service to someone else's script. I don't know if I'll ever feel fulfilled. And I maybe sound like a fucking idiot because like you could talk to like the Amy Adams of the world who get these amazing roles and she's like, oh, I feel cathartic and I can, I'd like to speak on behalf of Amy Adams right now. And these actresses get these incredible opportunities. So maybe they feel fulfilled in those ways. But I just feel like as being of service to someone else's story, I don't know if I'll ever feel like I've let myself out. Whereas writing, and I'm like, I vomit myself. If you saw my scene descriptions in any one of my scripts, they're like, my husband's like, your script is 134 pages. It's a romantic comedy, Courtney. You need to get rid of like 50 of those pages. What are you doing? I'm like, no. It's just in the scene descriptions, and they're really funny. So just read them. I don't know. I just feel like there's more to me to express than like acting allows me at this juncture.
Yeah. No. I totally feel that because these meaty roles would go to like huge stars. So ultimately I was like, let me just write something exactly kind of what you're doing where I'm just like, let me just write, something where I can, really tell a story and have it be interesting and have it be multi-layered. And
do you write them for you, like as a vehicle for you, or you just write to write and you're like, if it happens out that way?
Both. And then like probably the America Goes to Therapy and now I think originally it was sort of like the vehicle, like, finally, I'm going to, be able to, play this part. And then they're like, okay, so we're thinking Allison Brie and blah, blah, because now you have like a, huge team of people. And then
I do want to get it made. So I guess
so then
Allison Brie's great.
So then, so then you're just like, let me just be in it, So, just be in the group.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like having something get made than not is sort of, Now, going back to the Lacey Phillips thing, I really, because I want to.
Cobra Kai, 13th, February 13th. Coming next.
So the whole, energy work and everything. So how did you start figuring those things out for yourself? Like, how did you have awareness to be like, I think I'm wanting to be heard and seen? Like, obviously it's like always, it's like we didn't get that, at least for me, like I didn't feel heard or seen by parents, they're
middle child from divorce. So I was like, someone, I'm going to dance for you. Let me dance for you.
So literally so was comedy your thing? Like, was comedy your go-to to be like, things are tense, I'm going to do a dance and I'm going to make you laugh. So you stop screaming.
Yes, it was. Yes. My brother he was a handful when we were my entire life. And my parents, I just remember I quickly learned, but this is also how I feel about like just our gifts in general. I had a therapist once and I was joking about my sense of humor. And I was just like, but I probably would have had one, regardless of my brother. She's like, no. And I was like, well, no, I kind of believe that like we go through certain experiences to activate gifts inside of us.
Yeah.
Good or bad or whatever, there's certain things that for our journey that we need. And if it's not coming to us, and I do believe that like, listen, I had a brother who was, had a hard time growing up and there was a lot of attention on him and it got very tense. And I learned quickly how to, stop it before it happens or like make light of it after everything dissipated and be like, but wow, let's smile. And that was a really safe space for me to play in. And it was actually, then I grew up and I remember people being like, but can you ever just be serious? Can you ever just, can we just talk? And I was like, of course we can talk. Make moves. They're like,
it's like
you're adorable. Please shut up. And I couldn't understand that. I remember
you were always like performing in this performative.
Very performative. Yeah. Keep it up. Keep it like, mostly because like I didn't know if I didn't do that, like I was scared of the darkness inside of me. And then I think when I finally was okay kind of tiptoeing and being like, well, what is the darkness inside of me? And I can't remember really what it was. I just remember feeling very like superstitious about how things were coming in. And I was like, this doesn't feel good anymore. I don't want to like surround myself with like 87 aventurine crystals and be like, and enchant, this on like the full moon and make, I didn't want to do that anymore. I want to be like, well, I'm so curious about not the science behind it. I'm just so curious. I want to know how things work in an energetic way, but like, give me some hard, fast things. Like, let me read about it.
Yeah. Some practicality with the spiritual energy Joe Dispenza work.
Yeah. I just want to know how. Yeah. Like, and so I think I was doing Cobra Kai and I was season 2 and I was just like, it's great. It's giving me money. It's giving me stability. Everyone I work with is wonderful. I get to go and have like these wonderful, I go to Atlanta by myself and it's amazing. And I have like all these, but I feel like unfulfilled, like as an actor, like I feel like I'm just not using my potential. And I remember saying this to a very good friend of mine and she was just like, you remember that To Be Magnetic stuff? Because I remember the first time the AC Phillips stuff came across my desk, I was just like, I couldn't stand her. I was just like, I kind of like what she's saying, but I don't like the way she's saying it. I don't like her. And I was like, and then I realized I'm like, oh, is that my shadow? Has nothing to do with her. That's just me. Okay. Well, that's interesting. And so she's like,
how did you figure that was your shadow? Like, how did you come to that conclusion?
Probably because of what she was saying. Perhaps because she was explaining shadow. And I think with a reframe of jealousy and envy and judgment and gossiping, the reframe of it being like, that's all you. Like that's whatever you're gossiping about, whatever you're judging people about, whatever you're feeling envious about, I love the reframe of like envy and jealousy is like just your untapped potential, like a mirror back to you. Like I love that. As soon as that was shown to me, I was just like, I had shame around my jealousy. I had shame around my envy so much so that I'm making like these like fucking there's that language. I'm making.
Please, I swear all the time. Like they're
motherfucking cocksucker, vagina, cunt. Yes, cunty. I was just keeping things up and swirling instead of just going, okay, instead of being like, I'm not jealous, she's a bitch, I'm not jealous, whatever nonsense I was doing, I was making a mess instead of just going, okay.
And it might be right. But
I could be, but my reaction to it.
But it's your relationship with it,
yes.
you know?
And I love that. So I think that was it. It was like all of a sudden these reframes. I was like, oh, that's that. And like gossiping, like, why do we gossip? Like, what is it soothing?
We want to get out of our own pain. We want to jump into somebody else's, see? Like,
yes.
they're flawed.
And get on board with me. You gossip with me and we're both against that person. Yeah, they're bad. Damn.
Mine is more the celebrity gossip of like, ooh, what's happened? Like, that's like, because it's not really like about like friends or, you know, I love my friends. And if I'm working out a problem, like, I'm like, I'll go to a friend of like, hey, how do I approach this? How do I communicate this? Like, how do I... But the like, you know, people on, you know, who are very, very successful, it's easy to be like, see, like they're flawed too. You know, so you don't have to be great. And so as I'm like stepping more into that, I do feel that like that like voice has, or, you know, like, you know, diving into other people's problems like has gotten so much less.
Isn't that nice?
You know, it's so much better. Yeah,
I felt similarly. And then now when I took myself off social media in August because I was finishing a script and I realized like what a time suck it was for me. And then I was on a plane from London back to US and I was like, gave myself a break. I was like, I'm just gonna be on Instagram this whole flight. And there was when the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, like the movie came out and like they weren't doing press together. And I was like, I was like a meth head who like wasn't on meth for like a really long time. Like I was clean for a really long time. And then someone was just like, happy birthday, here's some meth. And I was like, meth. And for a 7-hour flight, I was just refreshing. Like, is there any more information on this? And I was like, I don't even know these people. Like, I felt like bad, like a deep bad. And I just said, I'm shutting off social media entirely. My writing went from, I don't know how you write, but like I consider it a good day if I write 3 pages a day. That's usually my mark.
Yeah.
As soon as I stopped, I was writing 10, 15 pages a day because I wasn't picking up my phone, writing a page and being like, okay, what's going on? You know, and it was amazing. And I realized how much I was like trying to soothe myself, judging other people, celebrities. Now I have no social media, but now I still need a fix. So I look on the IMDb news feed every day to be like, which by the way, will tell you all about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
The YouTube, if you like, I watch so much YouTube like for and it's on the algorithm where a lot of that like pops up, and I'm just like, I just can't give this any energy.
No,
like
it's so
I can't.
Bad. But I see it and I was like, but now I have judgment, and I was like, now I'm also a reformed smoker. I used to smoke like in the morning. I wake up in the morning, but and I haven't smoked in like a gajillion years, but now I'm like judgy about smokers. And I'm like in that position. I'm like, well, that's disgusting. You're like, Courtney, you're smoking in your pajamas. I'd be like, good morning.
I need to know the scandals today.
And now that's how I look at it. But now it makes me sad. I watch these celebrity gossip and I'm like, this is just sad for all of it. Like, because I know what I was going through wanting to eat that gossip. And I was like, well, that wasn't a great place. So like anyway, that got a little convoluted, but I know you know what I'm talking about.
No. I think there's like a part where, you know, I always... Like as a producer you always want to like have your like finger on the pulse of like what people are talking about, what is like, you know, writing, like especially like the project that we're doing is very like current events, kind of like timely things. So it's always like,
got to keep your finger on the pulse.
Yeah. So it's like you want to know what's happening, but like I've also noticed that it's a lot of negative, like, you know, you're just inundated with a lot of like negative information. And it's just like, I like after the fires that happened in LA, like I literally had to put the phone down because I was like re-traumatized from my, like, cause I lost everything in a fire, but then my other friends had lost everything. And it was a lot, it was so much. And I was trying to help them and raise money and, you know, for everything that they lost. But it was like, I had to put the phone down because I was like, you know, in addition, not just from the fires, but just from social media and just doom and gloom, like just terrible and just even the news where it's just constantly like double homicide and this terrible thing and I'm like, you know what? The world can be such a magical place, and I need to, you know, because I think what we like the information that we're taking in, I think sometimes is even more important than the things that we eat. Like
100%.
I literally, like, I'm so sensitive. Like, I almost feel like if I did a shroom trip, like, be like, stop watching. Like, you know, like the, you know, it's like the, true crime or something. You know what I mean? Like, watch like things that are going that feed you, that are going to nourish you and uplift you. So it's like a lot of, you know, during the day will happen, and then I'll do like a Joe Dispenza like meditation just to kind of wrap up my day.
Have you ever done one of his retreats?
I really want to. Yeah. And I'm just like, you know what? There's so much magic in the world. You can always find like the terrible things, but you can also always find like the wonder and the beautiful things that, you know, the wonderful things that are coming your way. So, you know, but I do think like I didn't realize like until recently that I was like, oh my God. Like even I was trying to watch what is it? Severed or
Severance?
Severance. Yeah. So I was like trying to watch it, and I was like suddenly like on edge, and I was like, like just feeling, and I was like, I don't think I can watch this anymore, even though it's so good and it's so well written. And I was like, this is not like beautiful performances, like they're amazing, but I just think it just wasn't good for my psyche.
No,
like because you're just on edge.
Well, so much is going into your subconscious at a faster rate than it ever did. Like I think I don't have the numbers, so I'm not even going to try to say it. But what they said about what we take in now versus what we took in. Just, you know, it's like a year's worth of things within like half a day, that information we're taking in now versus we did like 200 years ago, just because of what's accessible to us. By the way, those numbers are completely fake, and I am not a doctor. But it was something, and the other thing about social media, I was like, I'm an avid dreamer. I remember all my dreams. I have very big, epic dreams every night. And the things that were getting in my subconscious that my brain was trying to process every night, just from social media swipes, I was like, we need to stop. I'm like, what is my brain thinking on its own without all this information?
No.
Like, let me just feed a little good into the bad. That's why I said the news. I was like, at least if you're going to show all these murder stories, can you at least show like somebody saving a baby?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I know. It was definitely really, really tough. And I just realized it's like, we have to be our own parents, you know, like literally be like, put the phone down.
Yes.
It's toxic for you.
You
like
need a bath. You smell, you get a bath. Get in that bath.
But like oh my God, like normally my algorithm is like Taylor Swift and animal videos. And
you sound like my husband's
Literally, like I'm like, I love Taylor Swift and like 90s pop culture. And, you know,
I love 90s pop culture.
Like, you know, or funny memes, you know, of like self-help of like, you know, like it's like the monkey on the phone being like, wait, I'm waiting for my like 2025 package of like everything's amazing, not my doom and gloom, you know, like whatever, like terrible 2020, whatever. But it's generally pretty happy like for my algorithm, but like, and so I'm normally like, oh, this is great. But when I went like the whole fire stuff, it was just constant fire. Isn't and terrible and accidents.
Brimstone,
people are dying. Like you see like, you know, mother and daughter almost getting run over by a bus. I'm like, you know what? I can't.
I know. And it's a funny thing is I'm like, I don't want to bury my head in the sand. I just want to like give myself a chance to catch up and know it's my own energy now and not all this. I don't know. It's so wild. Yeah.
So wait, so how did you recognize, like, how did you have the awareness of, you know, being like, okay, this judgment, you know, is my responsibility, or like you started to separate of like, that person's a bitch, and realizing like
honestly, I don't work for To Be Magnetic, but it sounds like I do. It was that work because my friend brought it up to me again. She's like, you brought it up to me. And I said, yeah, but I didn't like it. And she's like, you should take a look again and look at this one. I think she said she has this was like years and years ago, probably 2019. And she was like, you should look at the your authenticity. She has a thing. Lacey Phillips has this thing where she says there's 4 pillars of your authenticity, like the 4 things that like are authentic to you. And if you're not, and then you should filter your life through them, basically. It always sounds cultish when I talk about To Be Magnetic, so
it's not. It's amazing. No, literally, I had Erin Moriarty on, and we just went on and on and on about it. You did?
I did.
No way!
Yes.
Oh my God!
This email came in, and I was just like, well, who is this girl? I'm like, oh, 2 hot girls talking. I want to be one of those hot girls talking. I want to be seen and pretty. Yeah, I think I can't remember. I just got distracted with hot, pretty girls. Wait, what were you saying?
The To Be Magnetic. You're like, it's a cult. Like, no, but it always
so
sounds
great. So cultish. It just makes so much sense for me, and nothing I've learned from there has ever not been unhelpful. And anything at this thing, it helps expand like my knowledge of the world around me. she has these authenticity pillars, and it's kind of figuring out like who you really are, which is kind of like what I was like, and she, I guess, Lacey Phillips was a aspiring actress, and she's like, and then one day I was kind of like, oh, maybe I don't really want to be an actress. And once I heard her say that, I was just like, oh, hope that's not me. No, I want to be an actress. You want to be an actress ever since you're 5 years old, Courtney. No, you always on stage. You always like to wear dresses. No, you want to be an actress. Yeah, that's not you. Find something else. And then it kept coming back to that, and it was just so interesting to find out, like, just embracing like who I am. I come from blue collar Long Island. Like, everybody in my town married everybody in my town. My parents lived across the street from each other, married each other. Like, it's small town, teachers, cops. Like, that's the people we're growing up. Having designer bags and wearing is not something that they do there or give a fuck about. But there's a big part of me that, not designer bags for the sake of designer bags, that likes luxury, that likes
bougie lifestyle.
Bougie.
Yeah,
I get to, you fly first class when they fly you out for something, for
amazing.
A job. And
are you
once
kidding?
You fly
I'm wearing my
class,
Stella McCartney jumpsuit. I mean, I got it on sale. So,
but I was realizing there's so much of me that I love and enjoy that I'm hide because I think I'm gonna get shamed from my family or like backlash or be like, or people won't take me seriously because I happen to like blah, blah, blah. And it was just all these things that I had to be like, no, you know what? I mean, buying a house in Connecticut, I thought my whole family was going to be like, I lived in Los Angeles. My family still lives in Long Island. When my mom got sick, I was like, okay, we have to go back home. I have to be by my mom. I don't want to go back to where I'm like, I didn't want to go back to Long Island in general. Because I live in LA, I'm like, I'm woo-woo to the woo. That doesn't, Long Island doesn't do that.
No.
So let me find a place. And then I must have said, like, I don't want to move to Long Island like 1,000 times. The universe was like, did you say Long Island? So I went to the North Shore of Long Island, a place called Huntington. Beautiful, lovely town. I love it. They have some woo-woo there. I was very happy. The Crystal Shop, I was home. It's 20 minutes from my mom. I had an aunt leave a message for me. She thought she was leaving for my sister. That was like, can you believe Courtney? She thinks she's going to be able to help moving to Huntington. Well, nice. Good luck with that. It was kind of like how even my brother-in-law was just like, "Oh, you're in the North Shore. You're in the North Shore." Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe how they said they do, because the North Shore is considered a little more affluent. By the way, these are sweeping generalizations, but South Shore is more blue collar, and North Shore is like fancier. And they're like, "Oh, Courtney moved to the North Shore. Well, I guess we'll never see her again." I'm like, "I'm 20 minutes away." So me buying a house in Connecticut, in like Fairfield, Connecticut, where like, who's the boss? That's literally why I moved there. I was like, that's where Samantha Maselli was from in Who's the Boss? And she was my idol when I was Alyssa Milano. It was sad. It's really sad. But it's beautiful and bucolic and magical. And it's everything my soul wants, but my family didn't have that. And so knowing and being able to be like, but I've earned this money. I bought this house. This is me doing this. Like, and to not buy that because I'm afraid of like, but
what
like
people will think.
But all this is happening in my subconscious. I'm not aware that I'm like hiding this side of me until I'm doing this work. And I was like, oh, okay, you got some shadow around this. You got some shadow about owning the things you like, Courtney.
Wow.
It's just like stuff like that.
And how did you come to that conclusion? Like, how did you integrate your shadow? Like was it just like a slow process of like exploring the thought of like, why do I feel judgment around this? And why do I feel shame about like having a house in Huntington? And why is this like a,
once again, I don't work for 2B Magnetic, but they have a whole process. They do a whole thing. They have
they do.
Yeah, they do. They have like these self-hypnosis things, which always sounds woo-woo when I say it too. But
I'm so gonna do this.
You gotta check it out. I think it's fantastic. And if you need guidance, just text me. I'll tell you which I think is like where to start. But yeah, they walk you through it. It's an ever-growing process because every time I reach, like I've surpassed the girl in my 30s who I was so ashamed of. Like if she could see where I am now, she'd be like, bitch, I'd be so happy for you, but I'm too high on coke to say anything. But like, go for you. And if little Courtney saw me, like I'm so proud of the person I am now. And because of this, but I'm still like, there's always stuff coming
There's
up.
Always stuff.
Like that I bought myself a designer purse. To round it all up, I bought myself a designer purse like 4 years ago. I had hand-me-down purses and purses from Marshalls my entire life. And I was like, I can buy a designer purse.
Yeah.
What it took for me to buy this purse, you thought it was like buying like another house. Like I was like, I remember handing my credit card to the person at YSL and she's like, sign this. And I started crying. This is a true story. I was like, you did it. You bought an expensive purse, Courtney, just for yourself. But I use it as currency when I'm in Westport, Connecticut, where all the people are a little rich and uppity. Yeah. Not uppity. They're kind. They're lovely. It's a beautiful town. You should go visit. It's lovely. But they're a little, I flip the YSL out. Like, I belong. I'm part of you. But when I'm in Seaford at home, I'm like, I flip it the other way. Don't see the YSL because I'm just like you. I'm not uppity, you know?
Yeah,
It's
right.
It's always an evolving thing. So like, I'm still battling it. You just keep, there's always a next level to like the digging of your shadow, the understanding of it, you know?
Yeah, I had a shopping problem. So I lost everything in the fire, and then I
Fixed it.
yeah. Well, I then like I had a timeout and I sat with myself and just like I was slightly traumatized from the fire, but then it was like all this other stuff that I thought that I had healed and like clearly was just the fire just brought it all back to the surface of just like being bullied, like in, you know, like as a kid and like my relationship with men. Like I literally went back to like my first crush and I was like, wow, he was kind of a dick. Actually, wait, hold on. I need to like undo.
They're
like,
all a bunch of, wait a minute.
wait a minute. That's the pattern. Like, why did I choose like a bully? Like, why did I like, you know, it's like sort of like growing up in Boston. It's just very tough and everything's like, you know, it just feels, it's like a very masculine place and just like, you know, tough it out and don't cry. And, but
I see you lead with a lot of masculine energy.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like authentic to you or do you think that's the persona you got to develop as
my persona that I got to, the persona that I got to develop. Like, I think just people didn't wear dresses in Boston. So like you kind of had to be like tough and a tomboy.
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Were you always like stunningly beautiful? Or very pretty then if you're not going to...
I didn't feel that I was. Like, I remember,
was it clock that you were? Like, was it something that people said to you or noticed or your parents like, oh, she's so pretty or anything like that?
No. I mean, it definitely goes back to my trauma for dear God. I think like I think Jordan Peterson talks about this, that like when you're like turning 12, you start noticing like adult men.
Yes.
Adult men suddenly being like, hello. And you're like, Jesus Christ, man, I'm 12. You know,
you were like that. I was like, hi. What?
No, but I think that was really challenging. Like when you're like a kid, you know, for sure. I think I always loved being in sweatpants even now. Like I wear like now the Aviator Nation, like sweatpants, like during the pandemic, I couldn't be happier.
Sure.
Like being in,
comfy.
The bougie sweatpants. But, yeah, I think Boston is just a very masculine and like my sister, she's like a news broadcaster for like CBS, and my mom, like just the whole family was just all very tough and very masculine and very like, even though like they're very feminine, I think by nature. But I think it's like, I think when you feel safe, then like I think when you feel safe, then you can be your most like feminine, you know? So I think it's like wearing the masculinity like armor. Or
that's what I mean. I feel like it's not that you don't like pretty things or girly things. I ask about you feeling being like very attractive your whole life because I feel like there's something about that gaze that not every pretty girl goes through.
No, I thought about
a level
yesterday.
of protection we have to keep ourselves because there are men out there who do, and as we both spoke about
real malevolence of like
there's
they
a
don't
level
understand
that we
the word
have to stay in our masculine in order to prevent. I'm not vulnerable. You can't fuck with me. I might be hot, but you can't. You know what I'm saying? And that sort of energy just bleeds through. And I, not just through you. I just know I have my other friend from Boston who's a beautiful blonde as well. Same thing. She's like, she looks like this, and she's like the hottest thing you'll ever see. The hottest thing. But she's just like, yeah, I'm a woman. I was like, I don't know. You got a dick in there somewhere, girl. Like you are so in her masculine, you know. And
it has just, like colored my. You know, of like the world is unsafe. The world is unsafe. The world is unsafe. And like
this person I was trusting, I cannot trust. I can't trust anybody. People who are kind to me. I don't know if men who are sorry, I'm done with put words in your mouth.
No.
I feel that for me too. Like I get that.
And I'm trying to work through that because there have been just so many wonderful men that like, you know, are trustworthy. But I think like only now I've been able to reflect on, you know, all my amazing relationships that I've had to really build, you know, and like change so much, you know, of my viewpoint. And, you know, because the world can be malevolent. It can be a dangerous place, but it also like I have so many amazing people in my life and like, people in New York, like you ask for help and 90% of the time they'll be like, okay, like, they'll help you.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
There was a blackout here like years and years ago. Was it 20 years ago? Probably more. And I remember all the New York City it was all just dark. And I remember it was like, I was like, I want New York City to go dark all the time. Because people were like grilling on their phone. They're like, hey, I remember people being like, my ice cream's going to melt. Everybody get ice cream. And I was like, this is beautiful. I love you guys.
It's amazing. Like the amount of times that it's just like you can meet people on the street, make new friends. And it's I don't know. I think there's something so magical about that. And so like it has like over time but I think it's necessary to have a strong masculine, like especially when I was being chased by robbers and there was like this big, like, I don't know, like 240-pound dude on my lawn stealing things. And I had to use it's 2 a.m. and he kept stealing things. And when I saw him like the second time stealing stuff, I had to use my entire shadow. And I was kind of high, like smoking weed. And I was like, okay, it's now or never. Otherwise,
oh my God.
It was terrible. It was terrible. I was like, and I knew I'm like, he keeps coming in and trying to find things and steal. And he'll feel even more comfortable to maybe even break into the house.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, I just conjured up and I practice this in my dreams, like, cause I can control my dreams of like, like dealing with serial killers in my dreams where I'm like, hey, like I use my shadow. And so I just literally like conjured up this like banshee, like scream of like, oh, fuck, I kill you. Like, and so he ran away.
Yeah.
And so I was like, phew. But I had to, use my, so like, I also think, that I do want like a man to call in a man who is integrated. So has like, but like it integrated both like the feminine and the masculine. And so like that means I also have to have like a strong masculine so I can like help be a teammate. But also like during that time when I was living in Venice, I would do pole dancing. So there was like a fire pole that like you could kind of like, instead of stairs, you could like just slide down. That my best friends, she would just do pole dancing just for like movement and to dance through things. Yeah. And so I moved into her place that had like the pole. And so I like installed one like after she took hers and I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So then I started implementing dance and like I was able to fully access all of me. And it felt like so amazing because I'm so like, I am very feminine because I'm everything's about storytelling and music and dance. And so there's like this, so the pole dancing, I really got to access all of those emotions because I am very emotional. So that was like really great for me to access and develop like that feminine part. And I think being in New York, like during the summertime, then I wear lots of dresses. Like I've bought so many dresses, but yeah, I mean, how would you suggest to integrate more of the feminine?
Oh, I don't know if I'm an expert. I think it's just something to become aware of, which is just where we tend to shut it down. New York in the summer, I was auditioning for something. I was here in my 20s, going to a commercial audition. I was wearing a skirt because summer in New York, let's wear skirts. And I waited in a vestibule with two other girls were at the elevator, and I was waiting at the end, and I felt something like in the back of my skirt. And I kind of ignored it, and I felt it again. And I looked behind me, and there was a man with a pencil lifting my skirt up. And I was like so shocked. I was like, oh my God. And he ran away. And I looked at the 2 other girls. They were like, oh, we didn't know if he was with you. And I was like, you girls suck. I have not.
This is where my shadow comes up and I'm like, the Viking is going to kill you. Sorry, you said not on the table, but for effect.
Yeah.
See, this is
we're pounding. No, I mean, I wish you were one of the girls at the elevator because then you
I would have slapped him.
Yeah. I was so in shock by what
happened. I would have started filming, be like, yeah, motherfucker. Like I would have gotten
back
Miami
in my 20s.
Susie.
There were no such things as
Miami. Damn it.
It was, but from that point on, I don't wear dresses or I don't wear mini skirts anymore. I only wear a midi because of that instance. And I'm aware of that, but I will never walk around because that was, so I'm just saying it's something to be aware of. I know this about me. I know that I won't because I don't ever want to be put, not that I ever think anybody's going to look at this 46-year-old's ass anymore. But if they, perverts are perverts. They're going to take a look, they're going to take a peek, you know what I'm saying? It's just being aware of why we hide. why we're hiding. And that's, I think, is really the most. And then you can be like, all right, am I going to creep out here? Or like, is this behavior still serving me? Because once again, we're not 12 anymore.
Yeah, no.
Or
No,
16.
and that's what I had to remind myself. I was like, look, where you are now and all the beautiful things that you've created in your life, like whatever, like and so it's like we create our own worlds.
We do create our own worlds,
and
our own realities.
And our own realities. So even though that was like, it's good to understand because it's still like, it's like, oh, it's like I have like shame or where like, so it's like you need to kind of go through all the boxes. And even though like I feel like I go through all the boxes like all the time, but I'm like, I don't want to stay.
How do you go through the boxes? Sponsored by TBM.
Smoke some weed. I don't know. I went to Park City for 2 years during the pandemic and just spent a lot of time like thinking and being with myself and, just going through and just, having time to really think through everything and kind of like a meditation, like last night, for instance, when I was just meditating and trying to just, and I think because I was listening to like certain like ayahuasca or ibogaine where you can heal like trauma and I'm always curious of, well, like it's basically like a life review, that when you go back into like the memories or whatever. So I'm like, what if I could just do that in meditation? And so you just go back through to kind of like where you're looking at it from an objective standpoint of view. And so being like, okay, this is interesting. And this makes sense of why, like, I feel unsafe or, and so then you're like, but now it's like you're learning martial arts, like you're being a badass, like you don't have to.
You can handle yourself.
You can, and so it's like I'm not 12, I'm not, like we're hiding in the bathroom because it was like so cold and like the teachers are screaming at us. I'm like, I'm not going outside. It's like 8 degrees. Like I'm like, this is child abuse.
Right.
So like I don't know. I think like it's just it's having grace and understanding and going back like as an objective observer and then like seeing those moments of, and then being like, okay, well, where am I now? And reflecting kind of back and forth. I mean, I guess that's how I do. How do you do it? We'll wrap this up in a
second. Sponsored by TBM. I do it with you're at the 2-hour mark.
We'll wrap this up in a second.
Yeah. Good luck editing this together, guys. like this. Listen, I did therapy. I've done everything. But
I've done everything too. But so now it's like I've done like 20 years of therapy. Right. So yeah.
And to be honest with you, the 2B magnetic stuff has done more for me than therapy ever have.
Oh.
Because it's a proactive sort of thing.
Because you don't stay in the story. Like it's not important. Like
you're here to listen to the story.
Yep.
Feel the story,
alchemize
recognize that, and then override the story is what you're doing. You're overriding it. That's not this, and because you don't have. So often, I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like I'm still living in like eighth grade Courtney is showing up in the world and experiencing things. And this work made me go like, oh, let me go. Why am I feeling like that? Like, what is eighth grade Courtney? Who was she? This is what she was insecure about. Oh, this was happening in her life. This is like, oh, do you need to talk so fast anymore to make sure people are listening to you, Courtney? Do you need to like, I'm a tall girl who happens to be attractive. Like, do I have to like pretend I do?
You have to make yourself smaller.
I'm not conceited because I was called conceited when I was a kid. So like, I don't think I'm pretty. Let me wear my cable knit sweater, just kidding.
Yeah.
I love this fucking computer.
It's amazing.
# Ralph Lauren. I just, it's all those things like, do I need to do that anymore? Is it scary for me to show up? It's scary for me to show up some ways in my full power. I don't know if people are going to like that, but like or just keep staying small and like letting other people's narrative or my fear of other people's narrative control who I am now. Or like, what if I'm just me?
But it's also really interesting because you just made me think of something where, I don't know, like you being at your best will help inspire people. Like that's the point is that we are supposed to be our best selves.
For my entire life, I've been trying to disprove a narrative. I thought you thought of me. That I thought he thought of me. Well, he might think that I'm wearing cable knit, so he probably thinks that I'm really rich.
Isn't the judgment that we give ourselves? It's really that's what it is.
It really is. More. I'm just so hyper aware of what everybody's ever said about me my whole entire life that I'm gonna make sure that I negate that off the get that. I'm not what you think I am. I'm nice. I'm whatever. So hard that I'm trying, and I'm like, but people are gonna have their narrative about you, whether you prove it to them or not. Do you know what I'm saying? And as long as we start to like release ourselves from other people's, which is like so hard to do. But
so hard to do.
That's where I start to feel. That's where you start to empower because I'm like, I'm going to be the best version of me. And not everybody when I was the best version of me in 8th grade and girls are like, you're conceited. I was like, wait.
I can't win. You can't win.
I'm just tall. I'm just tall, guys. I just have good posture. I don't need to be a dick. I don't know. It just doesn't serve you anymore to stay small because you're afraid of what somebody else is going to think. Anyway, that's my...
No, there was something that I want to add to, which is this movie that I just saw, Adaptation, with Meryl Streep and Nicolas Cage and Chris Cooper. Nicolas Cage is playing both roles, by the way, so it's very confusing. But he would be like, yeah, I think it's this stupid thing. And then he'd be like, that's a great idea. It's sort of like he's the Kung Fu Panda a little bit. Like, that's a great idea. And he's like, I was joking, and then it turns into this like best-selling, script. And he's like, oh my God. So towards the end, Nicolas Cage, the idiot brother, was, he was talking about, when he was in 8th grade, he had this major crush on the popular girl. And he's like, yeah, and I just, he's like, remember how you loved her and the whole thing? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, she was like talking behind your back the whole time and making fun of you. He's like, yeah. And he's like, wait, did you didn't know that? He's like, and I'm telling you now because the whole thing is lies. Like, that's why I have all this judgment for myself and the self-loathing because he cares so much about what people think and what they say and what behind their back. And he's like, no, I knew that. And he's like, you knew that? And you still loved her? And he's like, yeah. He's like, because it's like, doesn't matter. Like, that's her business of like, if she loves me or not, and like, the only thing we are who we love. Like we are like how, and so like, and I thought that was so beautiful of like, I'm going to love like, regardless of like, like I guess that woman or whatever to bring joy and love and to be like your best self and your highest, like, it's like has nothing to do with the other person where it's like, that's their business, like how they feel about you or whatever. So I kind of, I love that. And I thought that was really beautiful.
It is. Makes you want to go see that.
Yeah.
I probably should have seen it when it came out. It was pretty
it was like
claims,
but it was like, that was like such a beautiful notion. And then like, it kind of helped alchemize like this judgment for himself of worrying about what other people think because it's like, it's true,
We're all just going around with our own set of goggles on. We're just seeing the world through those ways. Yeah. I can't control your goggles. Yeah. Though I tried for a very hard time.
Well, Courtney, this was such a joy. You are amazing.
Oh,
thank you. I can't wait to share this. This has been
a very long episode.
Oh, no. We've had 3-hour episodes. So
wait, let's keep going. Wait, I want to be like a record here. Jesus. All right, fine.
Yeah. But thank you so much. This was such a joy. Thank you. This is so great.
The end.
Yay. The end.
A whole nother level.